everybody. Appreciate those of you in attendance joining us live, and those of you that are watching either right now on our YouTube channel or checking in later. Appreciate you joining us. This is one of my favorite nights of the year. This is an opportunity where the district gets to come before our community and say, hey, here's all the great things that have happened this school year that we've accomplished and what's coming down the road as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. So here's kind of the game plan. We're going to look at our 5-year strategic plan, and we're going to talk about some of the progress that we've made. And I always talk about the 2 C's and 2 F's, communications, curriculum, finances, and facilities. That's a given. That's extremely important for us. And then we're going to talk a little school safety and finished up with district accomplishments. So your presenters, myself as superintendent, and our new treasurer, Mr. Marco, will be guiding us through the presentation for tonight. We always start with our district theme. And it was a good one this year, the Cardinal Way. You can see that subliminal message there with that compass. All right, so we brought the 4 P's in there: pride, passion, purpose, and perseverance. And boy, has this theme served us well this year. As you know, our PTA is very generous, and every year they bless us with getting a T-shirt for every staff member. So here's a couple pictures of us this year, rallying up the troops and wearing our team shirt. So in our 5-year strategic plan, which as you can see, ends in 27. So I'm going to come back to that. We have 7 goals. You can take a look at what those are. And some of those were more specific this past year. So we're going to spend a little bit more time on some of those specifically. Our vision statement, as you can see, it's all about creating an educational environment. That's our 30,000-foot view. And our mission statement, which is day-to-day operations, I call it, we educate, motivate, and innovate. That's our game plan. So what's next with our strategic plan? So I want to make sure everybody knows, like I said, it's coming due here in 27. So our goal moving forward, we're going to collect input from all of our stakeholders to help us guide our direction, priorities, and just kind of set the map in action moving forward. So the first phase of that is going to be this summer in my annual Cardinal communique that comes out in the summertime. We're going to begin the strategic process with a community survey. So be looking for that. There'll be a link there and a series of questions to get us going. We always talk about demographics and, like I said, the 2 F's, the 2 C's, and we'll have some more stuff in there as well. But be looking for that. That'd be step 1. But the goal being by this time next year, we have a strategic plan that the board will approve. So let's start with communications, the first C. You can see all these things that we have in place, and obviously the first bunch there are our social media, and we appreciate all of you that are following us on our social media channels. The quality profile is in red. That's something that Ms. Lisa, our PR gal, really worked hard on this year to get that up to date, and that's on our website, so you can take a look at that. You can see some of the evidence of those things that have gone on over this school year. Community engagement, another big piece. You can see all the things that we do. Obviously, one of my favorites is the Champions Day, where we have all of our friends around the county come in and join us, our kids with special abilities, and our typical peers come. I do have literacy nights, and Team Trestle, who came to Canfield this year, we had a lot of fun with him as well. You can see some of the pictures here. Our Bus Safety Week, our Veterans Day assemblies, our Grandparents' Day. I mentioned about our literacy night. You can see some of the pictures there. And Team Trestle, we had a lot of fun with Coach coming in and helping us work out, talk about good eating habits, good sleeping habits, and keeping fit. That was awesome for us. I always like to promote our Canfield Education Innovation Fund. As you hopefully know, we just finished up our online auction, had a great time with that. A whole bunch of experiences and activities were auctioned off. Had a lot of fun with that. Here's some pictures from last year. Yours truly with some of the boys that won a Friday night experience under the lights for the football game, and one of our gals that became a cheerleader for the night as well on a Friday night. This school year, we handed out $28,500 worth of grants, which is amazing. And basically these grants are, hey, you get dollars to do things that we don't have money to pay for necessarily, and it's cool, innovative, out-of-the-box kind of things. On the left there, you see Learning to Fly. This was a grant. Talked about drones here at the high school. And our new craft club at the middle school was part of those dollars. Kindness clubs arose. The kids had a lot of fun doing that. And we've been talking Challenge 24 for a long time as well, but kids had an opportunity to participate in those grant projects. So we'll shift to curriculum, the next C, and this is why we're here. All right, this is what it's all about for us. So in here, basically it has some things in red. We're looking at creating assessment maps in reading and math. We're looking at extracurricular offerings specifically at the high school, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. And also under Objective 3, it's about looking at direct pathways, college, careers, military, etc. So we're going to start right here. These are the new electives that came to Canfield High School. There is a plethora of really cool, exciting electives. Over the last 2 years, we have put together over 30 new electives for our kids here at Canfield High School. And like I said, some really cool, new, and you can see some AP, advanced placement type stuff there too, which is really, really exciting. I mentioned literacy. We had a couple elementary literacy nights. I was able to go to one of them and get to see the kids sitting in tents reading. We had like a nice little fire, and we did some s'mores, all that kind of good stuff. So it was a great opportunity to highlight literacy in our elementary schools. This year at the high school, if you have a high school student, you know that we had 2-hour delays. And we had, I think, 5 or 6 of them through the year. Mr. Vitto did a fantastic job of organizing these days and the events. And long story short, we looked at vertical and horizontal alignment. So for example, if I'm an English 9 teacher, they were all had time to sit down, but they also had time to talk to the 10th grade teacher and the 8th grade teacher. So that's the vertical, horizontal part. And we took a look at pacing guides and common assessments. And quite honestly, we had not done this in a long time. So it was a time well spent here at the high school. Mr. Vitto and I are going to take a look at some of the evidence to talk about what this might look like next year, but I know after talking to Mr. Vitto, very excited about the body of work thus far. Some STEM, and you guys know I'm passionate about this. When I walked in the door, this is one of my goals, was getting STEM up and running. It was already here. We just needed to put it on, kind of get it down the train a little bit further, but we've done a nice job with that. The big takeaway here is we received a grant, some good dollars we'll talk about a little bit later, to help us get through AI. We have to educate ourselves here as leaders in this district, teachers, administrators, and we have done that. And then we kind of move our way down to the teachers here as well. But this was a really cool part. Once again, in getting some good grant money to come to the district to work on AI under the STEM. Been doing this for 38 years. Have never had the opportunity to do what we did here in Canfield. This was our talking to an astronaut on the International Space Station day, and it was awesome. We had a lot of fun with that. Ms. Palumbo, Ms. Lapata put this whole project together. It was really awesome, and it was like the astronaut was sitting right here beside Mr. Marco. That's how well you could hear him talk. Now, we only had 10 minutes because of how everything was flying around, but it was an awesome experience. So glad we were able to get that put together. And you can see the snow. If you remember, that was during that week or so. We had a lot of tough weather coming, but Mr. Flood and I, we said we're going to get here one way or the other, and we did for that day. Because that was it. That was our only shot. But what a great experience for our kids to be able to participate in that. So let's see some STEM in action. I was talking to Mr. Vitto about this. This might be my proudest thing when I walk away from Canfield, that we can say the amount of time and effort and dollars that we have put into STEM education here in the Canfield Local School District. So proud of what we've done, and our teachers are doing a tremendous job. When you go to a kindergarten class and see kids doing STEM-related things, they're not afraid of anything. They're building, breaking things, throwing stuff all over. It's awesome. There's no fear. And that's what I love about that elementary piece. It's really awesome. So what's next in the curriculum world? So here we go. We're talking about the middle school here, and we're looking at this Ohio Code Scholar Program. Mrs. May is going to be incorporating this in her programming over at the middle school. Project-based coding, robotics, problem solving, just once again expanding what we do in STEM education here in Canfield, and really excited about what that's going to look like moving forward as well over at the middle school. What else is going on? I mentioned that we got that AI grant. Mr. Vail did a fantastic job. $120,000 came to Canfield. So we're really excited, like I said, working our way through that. We had this class bank at the middle school. We're going to be doing some pretty cool things. As you know, our kids get little classy cards at the middle school. We're going to kind of go away from that. It's going to be digital. All right, so this class bank is going to be a software program that's going to allow us to do that. I know you find this hard to believe, but middle school kids lose things. All right, their classic cards fall on the floor, and allegedly they might be trading them for a player to be named later or something. All right, so we're going to try to clean all that up and enjoy that kind of thing. And I love the part where our kids with special abilities are going to be running the school store as well, so that's cool. As you know, we're one-to-one with student devices here in the district, and we're looking at a purchase either this summer or next summer to kind of get us up to speed on that. We're looking at that high school piece again, working on curriculum and assessment mapping potentially during those delayed starts. And we have a real cool option on the table, and I wanted to share this with you. We're looking at the middle school for a project called One School, One Book. And basically, we get a book. We have all the teachers, kids, and community members reading the same book over the school year. And we're looking to try to find dollars, to be quite honest with you. We're trying to find dollars to pull this off. But this is something that you're kind of passionate about. I'd love to hear from you, because I would really like to see this project come to fruition for next school year. So if that's you and you're passionate about that, let me know. Would be really exciting to see that. So at this time, I'm going to call up the treasurer, Mr. Marco, who's going to talk about the first one of our F's, finances.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. Just a few slides here on the finances, some of the successes from the last year, and then looking forward a little bit towards next year. So the goals here and the objectives, largely speaking, simply put, is communication. All right, the goal that I have for myself and the board has for me is making sure that I'm communicating well with not just the board, but the community as well. So if there's ever anything you are curious about, track me down at a board meeting, send me an email. I always try to be very, very attentive to any questions. It's a major part of my job to be able to communicate out the financial status of the district. For levies that are possibly coming up in the future that are already on our books, we have two. There's an emergency levy originally passed way back in 1986 for 6.5 mils, last renewed in November of 2020. Current effective millage is 0.91, and that shows as valuations increase, the millage is decreased by the county auditor to make sure that no extra dollars are brought in through increased valuations. The one that will likely be put forth to the community next of the two would be the current operating expense levy, originally passed in November of 2013. This is the last successful levy, new levy, that the district has passed. Back then in 2013, it was for 5.9 mils, last renewed in November of 2022. Currently, effective millage of 3.66. Again, as valuations increase, the millage is decreased by the county auditor. That will be renewable in November of 27, May of 28, and or November of 2028. Those are the 3 times we could renew it where it would be called a renewal. General revenue fund sources this year, so you might be wondering, where do we get our money? For the general fund, about 70% of our dollars are through local taxes here in Canfield, only about 26% state funding, 4% other revenue. That would be largely interest, facility rentals, school fees, etc. Every district in the state has a different looking pie chart than this. So everyone has their own story to tell. In Canfield, the state does not chip in very much, 26%, local taxes 70%. State revenue history. If you only looked at the last 5 years, I thought this was important to put all 10 years in. If you looked at the last 5 years, the green is unrestricted dollars, meaning that we can spend those dollars on any legal purchase, whereas the restricted dollars might be specifically for gifted or specifically for special education, et cetera. Notice, if you look at the last few years, it looks like our state revenue has been increasing, but when you compare it back to 2017, it kind of tells a different story, where even back in 2017, we were over 6 million. This year, we're still projected to be less than that. So even though we've increased a little bit over the last 5 years, we're still not even back to the levels we were back in 2017 with state funding. Current general fund expenditures this year, I just showed you where we received the money from. Now, where does it go out? Personnel costs, about 84%. That's salaries, benefits, retirement, medical, dental, vision, all of those things, severance packages for our employees. 10% purchase services. Now we're talking about utility costs. We're talking about special education costs with the Educational Service Center, those kind of things. The other 6%, we're talking supplies, capital outlay, other things like that. So the lion's share is through personnel cost. We are a service industry. Most of our expenditures are with people. Enrollment trends, when you look at it from a big picture, it's kind of flat, but notice it is a little bit of a decrease. Back in 2021, we were around 2,500 students. Right now, 2026, it's about 2,410. Every other week, we get a new report from the state that shows us where we are, and we're hovering right around 2,410 this year, with the projections moving downward closer to 2,300 by 2030. But of course, we will see as the years progress. Student cost per day. So general fund expenditures, when we talk about property owners, what the property owners pay. So daily cost per pupil for student is about $78 per pupil per day. Our property owners pay about 53% of that. So I'll do a little math for you. 53% of $78 is about $41.34. Assuming about 7 hours of school per day, that means that our community is combining to pay about $6.12 per hour per student in Canfield Local. We looked it up today. Minimum wage in the state of Ohio is $11. Our community members, our property owners, are combining to pay $6.12 per hour for transportation here and back, athletics, extracurriculars, academics, food service, etc. So we believe that Canfield Schools is giving a very, very good value to the local taxpayers. Cost per pupil. This looks like a kind of a scary graph, but it's actually not that bad. Every district in the state of Ohio has a gray dot, except for Canfield's, whose is red, okay? The vertical line is the average amount a district in the state of Ohio spends per pupil, okay? Notice that we are to the left of that dot, of that line, which means that we are spending less than the average district spends per pupil, okay? So we're to the left of that line, which is a good thing. But we're also above the horizontal line. The horizontal line is the average district test scores across the state of Ohio. So we are absolutely in a sweet spot when it comes to value for your money. I believe there are only 2 districts in the state of Ohio who spend less per pupil and score better on state tests than Canfield Local. So notice we're way up into the upper left, that upper left quadrant, or quadrant 2 for you math people, if you remember your pre-calculus days. Those are the schools that spend less than the average but get better test scores than the average, okay? Whereas opposed to maybe the lower right, which those are more expensive and not as well as the average. So Canfield, that upper left-hand dot, shows that the community is getting a very, very good value for their dollar. This has come from the CUP report for last school year, fiscal year 25. Notice if you look at line 45 there, total operating expenditures per pupil, Canfield, about $13,400. Similar districts, how do you define similar? Probably size, demographics, et cetera, about $15,500. So we're about $2,000 less per student than similar districts. And again, you can get this on the ODE website called the CUP report, CUPP. Statewide average of all districts, closer to 17,600. So Canfield local, line 45, total operating expenditures per pupil, very, very, I would say significantly lower than both similar district and statewide districts across all of Ohio. So what's coming next? We'd be remiss if we did not discuss very briefly the last couple board meetings, the February board meeting with the forecast, and then in April where we gave a board presentation on how to potentially resolve the financial struggles the district is having. This is from the February forecast. We started this year with about $13.1 million in our general fund. I expect us to be at about $11.6 million when the year ends. That's a deficit of about $1.4 to $1.5 million this year. So that has to be rectified. I talk a lot about days cash. So it's hard to talk about $1 million or $2 million. Well, what is that? For Youngstown, that's very different than for maybe a Sebring, which is much smaller. So we like to talk about days cash, and that means if all of our revenue turns off, how many days could the district exist on just the cash that we have? Our board policy says through all 5 years of the forecast, we should have at least 60 days of cash. Now you see a couple of vertical bars here. The blue bars are if I had to make a 5-year forecast today. The orange bars are when I made the forecast back in February. So notice in February, the orange bars, we went, this year we would end with 128 in 2026, 27 would be 93, 28 would be 44, negative 16 and the negative 85 for 2030. Today, with some of the staffing changes that we've made over the past couple of months, I would say that we've made some progress. I wouldn't call it fantastic progress, but I would call it progress. Right now in 27, next fiscal year, I would project us ending with 100 days of cash. 2028 would be 58 days. 2029 would be 4 days, and 2030 is negative 60. So obviously there's still a lot of work to do with this, but through the small changes that we've already made in the last couple months, we've already seen some progress in meeting the board policy of, which is currently 60 days cash throughout every year of the 5-year forecast. That's all I have right now. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Knoll to finish it up.
Thank you, Mr. Merkel. So we'll talk about the second F. We have facilities to talk about next. So basically, here's our goal, just to continue to look at our facilities, what the future is going to look like, some master planning, make sure we're communicating it out, having good discussions. So here's a picture of our facilities, and what a lot of people forget is we have more than just 4 school buildings that we got to take care of. Obviously, you can see the schools, but we have locker rooms, we have bus garage, we have athletic fields, buildings and stadium that we are responsible to update, maintain as we move forward. So that facility discussion has been tough, as you know, here in Canfield, but it's still front and center. Here's some of the projects that we completed last summer. If you're a high school parent or spend any time over here, you're rejoicing because we updated our entire parking lot out there, as you found out on your way in tonight. But it was a much needed project, very pricey one, to be honest with you. For those of you that are involved in paving, you understand that for sure. But we were able to get that project done, which was awesome. We also had off to the right there, we had a couple areas at the middle school that were hurting us. The big one was the choir room. Mr. Evans had some water in there, so we had to get up on that roof and get that taken care of. And then the big project that was completed, 100% paid for by donations, and I'll give Josh Colehost some love tonight, as I have in the past. On the bottom right there, you can see the scoreboard. That was actually one of our military nights, and that C-130 was getting ready to head right over our stadium that night. But just an amazing project. I believe it was $250,000 or so, paid for by donations, and just unbelievable, a great addition. And a lot of people use that stadium. I know people just think, well, it's just football, not so fast. There's a lot of folks that get in there Had a picture of our band. Obviously, as you know, we have lacrosse in there, we have track in there. We have a lot of cool things, good programs going on, but just very thankful to all of our community for those donations that came in to make that project come to fruition. So once again, what's next? What are we looking at? I know Mr. Marco's point of the last couple months, we've been talking about how we're going to pay the bills here in Canfield, and the discussion on facilities has kind of been moved off to the side just a tad. And I understand that, but here's the deal. The board is still talking about prioritizing what things can we do based on the money we have. I've reached out to the OFCC and kind of got us back in the hopper again, just in case the board does decide that we're going to make a move here. But the bottom part in red is still here. The need for our facilities and improvements still exists. Things aren't getting better as I'm standing here before you. So we're going to have to kind of just keep working our way through that and come up with some ideas on what that's going to look like long term as well. But facilities have not been forgotten by the Canfield local schools. I can assure you of that. So let's go to school safety, one of my personal goals and passion as far as what we have. And basically this goal says, hey, take a look at your physical security all the time. This wasn't a one and done goal or objective here. And I'm really proud of our people at our building level, district level, of all the time and effort we put into safety and security here in Canfield. If you've heard me talk before, and I hope you have, I sum up school safety with this. It's hardening versus heartening. The hardening piece is, what can I get or use or buy or whatever that deters, defends, and detects? That's the hardening piece. The other piece of this is the heartening. This is all about the mental health, wellness, making connections with kids. And I say this every year, and I'd have to repeat myself again. I will go to my grave believing the best way to deal with mental health and wellness and school safety is in that heartening side of what you see on this slide. It's all about making connections, kids having a trusted adult, a friend, a club, a sport, something that they are a part of. And that's been my goal since I've walked in the door, and we have made huge progress in all of those areas. So the hardening piece, this is the easy one. When you see an SRO with a gun and a taser, you can deter, defend, and detect, all right? And that's good. And as you know, we have 3 of them, and the gal to the left there is new this year. Our other gentleman retired, so Ms. Karras has joined the group. And let me just say this. I came from a district that had a female SRO, and I'm glad we have one now. Okay, she is awesome, didn't miss a beat, fit right in over the summer, went right at it. And these 3 folks are awesome. And I want to give a little shout out to the Canfield PD and our township who financially support SROs in the Canfield local school district. Not many people in my chair can say that as a superintendent, but we are extremely grateful for their contribution and understanding school safety is a team effort. So I need to say that publicly. So one of our hardening efforts this year was Zero Eyes. Last year at this time, I told you it was coming. Well, it's here. This is actually a practice drill that we did first couple of days of school. By law, we're required to do an active shooter drill, and we did. And these are our local, I think Canfield PD's here in the picture. Our sheriff was here, State Highway Patrol. This is what this software does through our current cameras. It identifies firearms. And once they are pulled out and shown, you get that little red box that goes to their company, and they have actual human beings reviewing this and saying, okay, we have a problem or we don't. And if there is a problem, 3 to 5 seconds, we get alerts, texts, emails, phone calls saying, we have an active shooter, we believe, in this area. So this has been an amazing addition. Once again, school safety to me is all about layering. It's getting different pieces and parts together that try to deal with school safety. But obviously a huge addition under school safety with that Zero Eyes. The hardening piece, once again, this is where, to me, this is where it's all about. We could spend all kinds of money on all these hardening things, but it all comes down to this. So here's our middle school kindness club and craft club, some of the things I talked about with the innovation fund that's new and improved. I talked to you about the Math 24 Challenge, and Mr. Marco and I are biased. We're former math teachers. We're not going to lie to anybody. And this Math Challenge 24 is awesome. And when you went to this event and saw these kids smiling, and for some of them, it's the first time they had a Canfield t-shirt on. Now they're part of a team, they're part of a club. And like I said, to me, that's what this whole thing is about. I talked a little bit about the classic cards and PBIS, catching kids doing good things and giving them opportunities to win some fun things along the way. I hope you're following us on social media. If you're not, you better get on there, because every Monday morning you're missing this. I like to start the week out with something positive. So every Monday morning on our 3 platforms, with help of Miss Lisa over here, we post something, positive thought for the week, and we try to kind of coordinate it with what's going on in the world. We had the first round draft pick from the NFL publicized a couple weeks ago. But once again, just another part of the heartening efforts that we're trying here in the district. This is one of my favorites. Miss Antal does a great job here at the high school. She put together this mentoring program where we have high school kids go down to elementary schools and just spend time loving on them elementary kids. And it's really cool to see. You got a couple of pictures here. We actually had a nice thing here about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago here at the high school where all the kids and the mentors came together, and we just had a great night celebrating one another, and obviously some really cool things, and building relationships, making connections, once again, going on there. A project I'm very happy about. So what's next? Been talking about that a few times. So what's next here with facility safety and our hardening efforts? So back in the day, all right, when I was roaming around middle school, this open air classroom was real big. And it was a great idea. You had these big common areas and you could bring us all in there. Unfortunately, when it comes to school safety, maybe not a great idea. So we have 4 classrooms at Hilltop that we're going to identify this summer. And I gave you a picture of a couple of them here. We're going to put doors and walls, and we're going to encase those classrooms. This has been a project on my heart for a couple years, quite honestly, and I know we were talking about what are we going to do with our buildings and so forth and so on, but you know, we're to the point now where we just got to get this done. And I applaud the board for approving this project. It's about $50,000 with some local friends helping us out, which I appreciate and always like to do. About a 4 to 6 week project. They're scheduled to start Monday, June the 8th. So we're excited about getting them in there, getting this done. Once again, just another layer of school safety for our kids. And like I said, this is over at Hilltop. So excited about that project. So I will wrap it up with talking about our last topic, and this is district accomplishments. I talk about this a lot. This is what sets Canfield apart to me, is this 3-legged stool. Arts, athletics, and academics. This is what makes a well-rounded education, and nobody does it better than Canfield. So let's talk about some of the academic pieces. So here's our school report cards. We had C.H. Campbell, the middle school, and Hilltop, 5 stars. Best you can get. Just like you want to be a 5-star hotel, you want to be a 5-star school, okay? Our high school came in at 4.5, so we're going to work on that for next year. And overall, we had a 4.5 district rating overall. Once again, very proud of that. It's a good accomplishment. We had 53 high school graduates or current students who earned AP Scholar Awards for their performance on the AP exams. And I talked about AP earlier. Between that and CCP, we have a lot of high-level classes for our students to take here at the high school. So we received that special recognition. Here's some just some data from the U.S. News and World Report. You can work your way through there and see kind of where we ranked in the state according to their rubrics. But that last one's a good one for me. High school, #1 high school in the Youngstown metro area. We take a lot of pride in that. 3rd grade reading guarantee. This is extremely important for us. We have 100% of our kiddos that made all the requirements, which we're very excited about, and kudos to our elementary staff, administration, teachers for getting that accomplished. I told you many times one of my goals walking in the door here 5 years ago was this Purple Star designation, which basically goes to schools that make military people, personnel, and their families a priority in Canfield. As you know, every single one of our buildings now has that credential, and most recently, our high school and middle school earn renewals for another 3 years for all of their efforts recognizing our veterans and their family members. So once again, very proud of all of our efforts there with the Purple Star Award. Some other district accomplishments. The elementary schools, both C.H. Campbell and Hilltop, received the Governor's Science of Reading Award, which basically says, hey, you're all in on literacy instruction. All of our people were trained up. We make it a focus. I can't remember, Mr. Vittle, how many schools received that. I should know the number. I don't remember, but we were one of a few. I can tell you that. But once again, kudos to Mr. Vittle, our elementary folks, teachers, administrators, for working hard on getting that, and a very nice award for both elementaries. We talk a lot about grant money, and I got to be honest with you, receiving grants in Canfield is hard, just because of our demographics of our kids and our community. However, I'm very excited to report with Mr. Vittle's guidance, we brought in close to $250,000 this year, which is huge dollars. Those grants have come in the areas of safety, AI, which I talked about a little bit earlier, at about $120,000, and middle school career education, which we're real happy about as well. So even though it's difficult, we work hard at it, and there's nobody better than the man over to my left, Mr. Vittle, putting those things together. Some other district accomplishments. Once again, I'm biased, not gonna lie to you, excited about math. This is a math program that our kids, IXL, that they use during the school day, but what's awesome is our kids don't get enough from 8 to 3. They gotta work more at home, which I just love. And our 4th grade team, you can see they were #1 in Ohio, #4 in the nation. Our kids are going crazy, doing all kinds of math problems at home, and I know it's helping them in the long run, but it's really exciting to see what they're doing. And I'd put a little tidbit in there, another accomplishment about the Math 24 Challenge. We had our big tournament here. We had people from all over the county come, and we had no mercy. We took first place at every grade level, which Mr. Marco and I are proud of. Well, look what happened this week. Somebody from the Auditor of State came in from Ohio and brought in this nice little plaque and said, congratulations. Well, Mr. Marco grabbed the dang on thing, ran over and got a picture taken. Now, to his credit, he said, well, I really can't take credit for this. This is the former treasurer's body of work, and he's right. I had to remind him of that. So I want to thank Ms. Prince and all the body work that she does. And obviously, Mr. Marco said, hey, no worries, next year, that's going to be me again after we earn it again next year. But this is important because what this means from the state is we're spending money the right way, it's going where it needs to go, and we're being held accountable. So I use a little bit of levity up here, but at the end of the day, you want this Auditor of State award, plain and simple. And like I said, big kudos to Ms. Prince, and I know Mr. Marco is ready to roll as we move forward. So the next A on that 3-legged stool is arts, and I don't need to tell you how great our kids are in art. Here's just a couple of our high school gals and some of the awards and their artwork that they received from the governor. Just amazing body of work on what these kids can do. Just really, really awesome. We have some great teachers here, obviously, K-12 when it comes to art, getting our kids prepared in that world. This is another great day that we had. This is our special needs art show. Miss Antal again here, and Aiden, who was the best of show that night. We had a lot of fun, had a great turnout, had some cookies and punch, and handed out all kinds of awards that night. And you all know this is near and dear to my heart. It's because of my son that has special abilities. But days like this is why you come to work. All right, this is what keeps me going. Good, fun stuff like that. If you didn't know that, you can see some art tonight and or tomorrow. Right down the street down here. Just walk on down the hallway, go on in the gym from 6 to 8, and you can see everything. So I'd encourage you to do that. If it's not tonight, come back tomorrow. Once again, staying with arts, our music programs, second to none. I've got some pictures there. Our symphonic band, concert band, #1 rating, superior. Down below there is our choir. Octave higher got a 1. The ensemble got a 2. So Mr. Bonamaze and Ms. Mullins doing some fantastic things in there as well. Hope you had a chance to see some musicals and dramas. We had Mamma Mia going on. It was awesome. And then we had Clue back in the fall. It's amazing what these kids can do on this stage. Just very talented group of people. very impressed with their ability. I don't need to tell you much about speech and debate because we're top notch, as you all know. Mr. Hamilton does a fantastic job as you can see there, we got 11th place in the state. We have some state finalists there, 2 great young people earning 5th place there. And we had 7 that are going to the big show, the national tournament, which is coming up this summer. And you can see the 7 folks that are outlined there. So obviously we want to wish them best of luck with a Cardinal salute as they make their way. Athletics. So we'll kind of finish it up with this last A. We have had no mercy over the year with league championships, and you can see them. I told Mr. Beam he's doing a good job as athletic director. Our coaches, our student athletes are on fire. Just a fantastic sports season again this year. You can see all the ones we won there, and just some pictures of the troops as we're working our way through. We got some state qualifiers. Our girls golf team finished in 10th. I was able to go watch them play at Firestone. If you know anything about golf, that's a course you want to get on. It's amazing. And I'm going to say this publicly tonight. You better watch out, because this team is ready to roll next year. Okay, they bring a lot of girls back, and I'm expecting some awesome things from this group of gals. So I'm hoping we're going to do a lot better in 10th next year. But they're fun to watch. Mr. Miller in wrestling, 6th place. We had a plethora of kids make it to the swimming. I went to Canton to watch them participate as well, and they represented Canfield very nicely in the swimming pool. We had some indoor track state qualifiers, 2nd place in the shot put, as you can see there. We had 2 guys, Alex and Alex, make it down to the cross-country meet, which I was able to go to as well, and watch them run, which was cool. Our cheerleaders, state runner-up in their traditional building piece, and then our football team earned academic All-Ohio in football, which is very impressive. Just another thing, another great accomplishment. And our spring sports, they are up and running and kind of finishing up here. We want to wish them luck. Most of the tournament draws have been made, so tournament plays right around the corner, and I have a couple of pictures there of some of the sports. And that guy to the left reminds me of me back in my day. I was one of the fastest guys you'd ever see on the track. And this young man here came in at 10.94, which isn't too bad in the 100. But he and I might have a little talk one of these days. Okay, but very excited and wish all the spring sports teams good luck as they finish up the year. So in closing, for the board, Mr. Marco and I, we want to thank everybody for your support. Canfield's amazing for a lot of different reasons, and one of them is because of the support that we get from our community. So we never want to take that for granted, and we'll thank you for your support. Once again, we always considered ourselves with the Cardinal Way, and we thank you for coming, whether you're in person or joining us on the video. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.